I definitely want to see more action going on in the Hedera Heroes GitHub, because there you have a really nice opportunity to earn some H bars, get involved with the community. You'll definitely have questions, so you'll have to come talk to me or any of the other guys. Of course, I'm definitely not the only one out there helping. There are a ton of people just happy to help if you're stuck anywhere, and it's a good way to just get in.
Welcome to Hedera Hashgraph's Gossip About Gossip. If you are a developer, an entrepreneur, crypto enthusiast, or just trying to learn more about how distributed ledger technology and Hedera Hashgraph will impact your industry, then you'll love the episodes that we have coming up. Bookmark us, add us to your podcast app, and stay tuned.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Gossip About Gossip. I'm your host for today, Cooper Kunz, and I'm extremely excited to be joined by Christian Holman. You may know him from the community, you may know him from his upcoming wallet, Ivy, but we're really excited to talk to him, learn more about his background, and what he's building on Hedera. Hey, Christian.
Hey, how's it going?
It's great. How are you?
I'm very good.
Awesome. Well, I'm extremely excited to have you on the podcast. I think people might recognize your face or your handles from either Telegram or Discord. But for those who don't know you yet, could you tell them a little bit about, who you are and your background?
For sure. Most people probably know me from the community chats. I've been hanging out in the Discord since pre-open access, since 2018, asking questions. I searched my name up there the other day just to check. And I've been hanging out in all of the community channels, trying to help out new people and just stay in touch with the community, basically, while developing applications on top of Hedera.
You have been incredibly active. I actually don't have any say over it. The current Hedera MVPs are actually going to choose the next MVPs. But if I had to nominate someone, I think you would be pretty high at the top of my list. You're constantly helping people, answering questions, uplifting the community, a very friendly approach to dealing with questions and concerns. So we really appreciate all that work you do.
Thank you. It's fun just hanging out, answering questions. The more I answer the same questions over and over again, the more they get drilled into my head. So I learn a lot.
That is good. At one point I built the original admin bot that was in our Telegram that would just respond to, the when open access, when exchange questions. But it's great to see that we've kind of moved past that. We're actually recording this on the 1-year anniversary of open access. And it's incredible to see the amount of growth that our community has had, since then.
For sure. I've been here since day one on open access. Been here since pre-open access also. I don't think I was on the network before open access, but I was definitely looking at Hedera.
That is awesome. And so, you're active in our community, but you're also active building on the network. Could you maybe tell the listeners a bit about your engineering and academic experience?
I'm in my final year of high school now, so academic experience is very general. And my work experience is even more limited. So my engineering experience comes mostly from hobby programming for years and years. After I was about 12 years old, I told my aunt that I made a game, which I really, really did not make. After telling her that, I felt like I had an obligation to actually prove that I made the game. So then I learned coding through just trying to make this game and prove that I made the game.
That's so cool. I think that that's really inspiring for a lot of people, and a lot of people who know you might not know that you're still in high school and doing all of these really cool things in our community. Learning to code at 12 and teaching yourself is a pretty awesome backstory. And I would say that that's a lot more experience than, some other people have. What was that first game that you tried to build?
It was like a homebrew game on the Nintendo DS that you would install on there. You would just avoid blocks, basically. You'd go down a road and avoid blocks. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but my first game made in Unity was a very similar clone to that, basically.
That's awesome. Well, it's almost ironic that you started your programming career building a game that you avoid blocks, and now you're working in the blockchain and distributed ledger industry. Do you also find that ironic?
Avoiding blocks, building on Hashgraph. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, it comes full circle.
That does feel pretty sweet there. But that's awesome. I think that that's really inspiring, and it should go to show how you can start building some of these things just by teaching yourself. Do you have any advice or great resources that helped you along your way in learning how to code?
Well, it's mostly been the people that I talk to and having contact with people that are more experienced than me, which is what I try to be for the new guys coming into Hedera as well. Just, I know how confusing a new concept can be to learn, especially in new SDKs with the JavaScript SDKs, for example, with Hedera. And I just try to explain to the best of my ability to these new guys who might come in and not have their question answered for a day or something. I try to just pick that up, make sure that they're actually getting supported.
Yeah, that is great. And, we definitely see you doing that a lot, and we really appreciate it. I'm sure those people you're answering questions for appreciate it too. And you bring up a good point. If you're studying JavaScript or Java and just getting into programming, there's decades of Stack Overflow questions out there and Google results and blog posts and tutorials. But with something like Hedera, you're in this first generation of people building on it, these super early adopters, and you're actually creating that initial batch of FAQ questions and ways to help people. So it's a whole other challenge there versus, just teaching yourself how to code.
Well, it's not a one-way relationship either. It's not just me teaching people that come to me. I'm making a lot of friendships, and I'm making a lot of good relationships with people that are doing very interesting stuff. So when I help them in the groups, there's a bunch of times where we've just stayed talking for a few months and we've made awesome products together.
Yeah, that is great to hear. I think that that's one of my favorite things about the Hedera community. It feels like a lot of us are actually friends out there beyond, just our interest in Hashgraph. So I'm glad that you feel that way as well.
Definitely.
Now that we know a little bit about you and your background, I know that you're building a bunch of stuff on Hedera, but I think one of the first times I saw you take something to market or to production was during Hedera 20, our 6-week virtual hackathon. Do you want to talk maybe a little bit about why you signed up for that and how you joined?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually not planning to do the hackathon because I was having the usual imposter syndrome doubts going in and thinking that I don't know enough. But I think actually you and a couple other people in there encouraged me to ask around and just get a team formed. And a guy named Eamon, he came to me and said, yo, we're forming a team. Would you like to be part of it? Because he'd seen me questioning for like team building. And I said, okay, I'm just going to ignore my imposter syndrome for this one time. And I'm just going to join the team and try to make something great. And we ended up winning 3rd place in the hashing systems division. And that was awesome. Great experience there.
That is awesome. I'm really happy that you participated and found a team. Eamon is great, and I'm happy that worked out as well. So shout out to Eamon. What did you end up building? Did Eamon come to you with an idea, or did you have a brainstorming session? How did that go down?
Well, we'd have team meetings. So a nice thing that we decided at the start was that we'd have a few team meetings along the way. So we're all focused, even though we have different stuff that we're doing on our free time as well, or on our non-free time rather. We'd have meetings, and the first meetings were used to brainstorm. I think it was rather me that came in having a kind of clear idea for what I wanted to build, because I'd been wanting to build something like it for years, but I never had the team to actually build it.
That imposter syndrome will definitely get to you.
Yeah.
So what were some of the ideas that you kicked around in those brainstorming sessions, and what did you ultimately end up building during that hackathon?
There was some stuff about identity, about auctions, like the demos that Hedera had made, but I ultimately wanted to do something with payments. because I think that was important to have that kind of infrastructure on Hedera, just being able to take payments in HBAR and have some action on the internet executed when a payment is made. Doesn't really matter what that action is. Maybe it's confirming in a web store that a product has been paid for, anything.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think a lot of people sometimes get removed from the fact that payments and money is one of the first inventions of blockchains and, the heart of cryptocurrency. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's definitely my biggest focus when I'm actually developing applications, is usually transfer of money and just actions that happen when you give money, basically.
Very interesting. So I know that the project that you guys ended up building and winning third place from Hashing Systems is called Final Pay.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain how someone who operates, like a Shopify or, an existing website might want to use what you had built?
Yeah, for sure. So we basically built a mirror node, but instead of tracking all the data from Hedera, we'd only track payments for specific requests. So that whenever a payment came in with a specific request, we'd alert the web shop or whatever who wanted to be alerted about that payment. We'd alert them, the payment's been made, Hedera has confirmed it, Google, IBM, all of these guys have looked over it. It's fine, it's confirmed, you can check it, here's the receipt. And basically you have a proven payment within 3 seconds.
And so, if I was building a website or integrating it with like the store on Hedera.com, I could take that kind of receipt from you and verify that they had purchased, a large shirt, for instance, and that we should ship it out to them. Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Exactly. It's pretty much the Stripe of HBAR. So you'd plug it into any web application that needed to take payments, and we'd handle the processing. We're the payment processor.
That is very interesting. You talk about blockchains, distributed ledgers, teaching yourself how to code. You make this great analogy to the Stripe of HBAR, which Stripe is, probably the number one payment provider in the internet right now. How did you get this kind of tech background? When I was in high school, I wasn't looking at startups and looking at the payments landscape. How did you come and initially hear about Hedera or the blockchain industry and are like, this is exciting, this is something I want to learn more about?
Initially, you know how the DeFi craze is going on right now with all these random projects. Initially, I was playing video games, Counter-Strike, all of these games, and the entire DeFi craze of back then was the Counter-Strike gambling scene. And I basically got into this and I was like, I want to see what other people are doing around this, because the entire Counter-Strike gambling scene was generating millions and millions of dollars of seemingly like nothing. So I was like, I got pretty interested as a young gamer. So,
that is really interesting. I didn't even know that was the thing. Are they like gambling on the outcome of Counter-Strike matches?
no, they just throw money in a jackpot. But it had to be shut down because kids were gambling their parents' houses away. Money flowing like this was really interesting to me. Just numbers going in, but the numbers having actual value. So I looked into other things like Bitcoin, for example. I was always like fascinated about money just flowing over the internet. I think my first Bitcoin mining experience was back in 4th grade, elementary school, because I can find blockchain.info transactions of me just mining off my laptop in 4th grade, just because I thought I could get funny internet money easily.
That is insane. So that must have been 2011, 2012 or so?
Yeah, 2012, I think.
How old were you? 4th grade must have been like 10?
Yeah, something like that. But it was beside my, like, that Amazon thing where you could do surveys to get internet money. It was beside that I was looking for ways to get money off the internet, and I found Bitcoin mining. So that was kind of my introduction to Bitcoin. I didn't actually like make any money from it, but it introduced me to the concept of money just going over the internet, which is cool.
You didn't mine enough Bitcoin to buy an extremely overpriced pizza?
No, I was using like a 11-inch laptop in 2012, so couldn't buy much with that.
Would have taken you a while. And so once you were, that's a crazy origin story. And I actually didn't know that about you. And we talk pretty frequently. So that's really cool. I'm sure other people in the community will get a kick out of that as well. But when you were doing that, did you just follow the space? Did you follow the Ethereum ICO all the way up to the Hashgraph white paper? Or what does that kind of look like? How did you come to the Hedera community specifically?
I haven't been interested in DLTs and cryptocurrencies consistently. My consistent interest has been programming. So from fourth grade doing the Bitcoin stuff to now doing the Hedera stuff, the only thing that's been consistent in the middle has been my love for computers and programming. But coming back to cryptocurrencies and DLTs in 2018, just trying to basically find a way to recreate these gambling sites on a ledger. That's basically where I came back to cryptocurrencies.
That's awesome. So I assume you're a fan of Ben Shavero's PlayHash website?
Yeah, I was actually using it when it was shut down, and I didn't know why it wasn't actually doing the transactions.
That is great. Well, shout out to Ben for building one of the first consumer applications on Hedera.
Yeah, that was actually one of the ideas that I was trying to make when I was first started out with Hedera.
Wow, that is so cool. I really appreciate that your consistent interest has been technology and programming. Similarly, I didn't have my heart set on going into any specific industry. I'm just always excited about new technologies and kind of ended up fascinated by this decentralized and Web3 ecosystem. So I very much share that sense of curiosity and interest with you.
Yeah, big systems that, after seeing all the bugs that I can create in code, just big systems that can't fail is a really nice concept, which I feel like a good DLT just will not shut down.
It is true. It is one of the most unique engineering efforts that I can think of outside of the scope of, the initial internet and IT infrastructure. These completely resilient, decentralized networks are really the next generation of ambitious engineering projects. It's always humbling to be a part of. Do you see yourself going after a traditional engineering career, or do you think you're going to try to stay in this exciting world of Web3?
I think I'm going to stay in the exciting world of Web3. Of course, it's the future. I want to be part of the future. I don't really feel like going into a traditional maintaining old systems. I don't think I can write Java ever, but I'm going to write the future in Rust, I think.
Well, that sounds more exciting. Obviously, I'm interested in Rust. I think you're more passionate or excited about it than I am. I think you said once that Rust has utterly zero problems or something along those lines, which I thought was a hilarious joke.
I'm not sure. I haven't actually written a line of Rust for the last 5 months, but I'm sure it's perfect.
It's always perfect. It'll always be perfect. Shout out to the Rust core team. You're doing exciting things. We talk pretty frequently, and I'm learning things about you that I didn't know before. So I'm sure the community is going to be excited about this. One of the things that I was most excited to talk to you about today is about your project called Ivy. I know that you're accepted into the Hedera Boost startup program. You're doing a lot of really exciting things, and it may even be available on Android and iOS by the time that this podcast airs. Do you want to talk about Ivy and the inspiration there?
So Ivy Wallet is currently available on Android. In the process of getting it on the App Store as well, but they're being slow. It's working for iPhone. I'm not the blocker right now.
I do have the iOS test flight app, and I am a big fan.
Yeah, it's the exact same app on both iOS and Android, using the same code base. It's supposed to be cross-platform, which was one of the goals of development, was just making a cross-platform wallet that works consistently on both platforms and allows you to import seed phrases and import private keys and basically just support every Hedera service natively without having to go to all of these different services.
That makes a lot of sense. So could you compare it and contrast it to maybe, the original Hedera official mobile wallet or my HBAR wallet, or maybe something like Atomic or Bread? What are the key differences there? What are your goals to differentiate yourselves in a crowded wallet space?
The differentiator with Atomic or Bread is more like, this is supposed to be Hedera only. I'm focusing Hedera only, HBAR only. So I'll be able to way better support HCS and all the other services, such as the file service and the smart contract service for that matter. It would be a way bigger effort for all of these other wallets to start integrating with other services on Hedera other than the crypto service, because it's already been a challenge for them to integrate with the crypto service. So I don't see how it's going to move at my kind of speed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Having the ability to focus exclusively on Hedera rather than retrofitting your wallet to support a new type of ledger certainly seems interesting. You mentioned importing seed phrases, importing existing accounts. What are some of the other unique features of Hedera or types of things that you're looking to support in Ivy that I wouldn't get from another wallet?
Well, right now we have the possibility of adding HCS and all of these. So we have the identity stuff from HCS. I can directly support when someone creates an identity system, or even if I make Ivy Identity, which is a project that I want to make as well. We'll be able to support those in the wallet without having to completely re-engineer everything. So that's going to be interesting.
Fascinating. I did not know about identity or perhaps more directly verifiable credential storage within Ivy. But I did know that you have the ivy.world domain, and it seems like the wallet is just kind of one part of this grander vision that you have. Do you think identity would be the next challenge that you try to tackle, or is there anything else in that Ivy world that you're looking at right now?
Right now, I'm mostly focusing on the wallet and using it to support all the Hedera services. So whenever a new fun use case rolls out on Hedera, I'll be able to support that. That's going to be the goal right now. So like being able to pay smart contracts to execute within the wallet. So a DAPP browser within the wallet would be very cool, because no other wallets have that for Hedera right now.
Fascinating. This is incredibly cool. I really enjoy using it. If you are on Android, or if you're listening to this and the iOS version has been accepted to the App Store by the time this podcast airs, I would highly recommend you download it and try to check it out, play around with it, suggest any feedback or changes that you'd like to see from Christian, because as an active member of our community, he is able to iterate much more quickly and address the specific needs of Hederians, or whatever we're calling ourselves these days, than someone like a major wallet provider that has to support 200 plus different assets. Very interesting. Highly recommend you check it out. I would be really interested if you add verifiable credentials or an identity management solution within Ivy. I think it would be important to have first-class support for all of the Hedera services, and someone who's able to keep up with how quickly Hedera is moving. So that's really cool to see.
Definitely. Trying to stay lean and mean, just HBAR, Hedera only, every Hedera service supported natively. I know these other bigger wallets can't really do that. So that's where I'm going to go in and support. And just because I hang out in the community, as you said, just DM me any problems you have, and I'll be able to fix it in minutes.
You won't be able to fix it if you lose your seed phrase or private keys, though, so don't DM him asking for that.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll respond to that.
That's great. So Christian, random question here. I asked this on our last MVP Spotlight series, got an interesting variety of responses. What is your favorite snack to have while you're programming when you're in the zone?
Honestly, I like water. Just
Water
water.
is not a
Straight
snack,
up water.
sir. That is a drink, and it does not count.
I eat my water.
You freeze it, turn it
I
into
freeze
something
my
cold.
water and eat it from the freezer, yeah. Snacking, I don't really do a lot of snacking, to be honest. I eat big meals. But when I'm in the zone, I might have some nachos, some crisps, just a little bit. But I can't be
Okay,
doing that at the same time as coding because then my keyboard will get dirty.
wow, that is not what I expected. All right. Well, if you don't have anything that you snack on, what kind of music do you listen to while you're working?
It's kind of weird, but I really like RPG soundtracks from like inns, medieval music. Feeling like you're hanging out at an inn while I'm
Huh.
drinking my water.
Interesting. Do you have any, examples? Like if someone's listening to this and they're like, that sounds cool, what should I look up on YouTube?
Go listen to the Skyrim soundtrack and the Witcher 3 soundtrack, stuff like this.
Wow, that is neither of these were the responses that I was expecting. So I'm glad that I asked them. This is really cool. I think we learned about who you are, your background, how you started mining Bitcoin in like fourth grade, which is insane. And now how you're in the Boost startup program from Hedera and bringing to market one of the easiest used and most fully featured mobile apps and wallets for Hedera. What advice, if you had to, would you give to someone new to the community or new to building on Hedera?
Don't just look at the chats, but actually actively join the conversations and ask questions. Even though you feel the imposter syndrome of, I'm not worthy of asking these kinds of questions or I'm going to sound stupid. The amount of times I've just straight up assumed wrong information in the chats is uncountable. You should just reach out. Everyone is super nice. And you'll learn way more if you don't just passively look at chats.
That is really great. I feel like you just kind of like added me though, because I always lurk in Telegram and almost never comment in there.
You don't need to ask questions. You know everything, man.
I disagree with you there. There are so many times where even I internally have this sense of imposter syndrome and have to reach out to Greg or Tim or Ken or Nosh or, Donald or other people on the Hedera team and get clarity. So I think that that's a really good piece of advice. Don't be afraid to participate and ask questions and get to know people. You can always reach out to me or Christian, if you don't know where to get started or feel intimidated. So that's really great. Where can people learn more about what you're doing or get in touch with you? What's the easiest way to find you online?
Well, Telegram at Christian Holman is my personal Telegram. I'm at 0xholman on Twitter. For IV World, you can find it at iv.world. On Discord, I'm at Luxio, but you'll see me as Christian Holman in the Discord. And just reach out. I'm happy to chat about developing on Hedera or really developing in general.
That is awesome. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today, letting people learn more about you, putting a voice and some context to the face that they see around our community all the time. I really appreciate all the work that you do answering questions and helping people and giving back to the community. So we're really lucky to have you, not just on the podcast, but in general as part of the HBAR supporters and Hedera supporters out there. Is there anything else that you would like the podcast listeners to learn or anything else you want to talk about while we have you here?
It's more towards the developers, but I definitely want to see more action going on in the Hedera Heroes GitHub, because there you have a really nice opportunity to earn some HBARs, get involved with the community. You'll definitely have questions, so you'll have to come talk to me or any of the other guys, of course. I'm definitely not the only one out there helping. There are a ton of people just happy to help if you're stuck anywhere, and it's a good way to just get in.
That is a great suggestion. Go check out the Hedera Heroes GitHub repository. We'll give you at least $100 worth of HBAR for giving back to the community. I'll take this time to shout out you, Christian. Jesse Whiteside has done a lot of great stuff for Hedera Heroes. There's new faces coming into the community like Alex Taylor and Matthew Smithies who are doing really, really cool things and building cool projects. So big shout out to them. If you have any questions about Hedera Heroes, or ways to earn HBAR, please reach out to any of us. We all can point you in the right direction. One other question, besides upcoming services, what are you most excited about for the future of Hedera?
I want to see thousands and thousands of transactions per second of just usage and just looking at transactions flow through, being able to read them, Hedera being used.
We definitely look forward to that as well. I think we've seen some of the highest network volume on our testnet that we have ever seen. Someone was doing over 2,000 transactions per second for what looked like 20 or 30 minutes straight. So hopefully those trends continue and make their way to the mainnet here soon. I would be very excited to watch those roll in as well.
For sure. I don't think I've missed 1 hour of transaction volume looking on the charts. I think I've been following all the way. I saw over 8,000 transactions per second pushed at one point. Not very sustained, but that's a lot of transactions.
That is great. It's almost like you have a second or third monitor open that's just stuck on Dragon Glass or Kabuto. Or maybe even with you just listening to a raw mirror node stream.
Just the frequency sounds.
That is great. Well, Christian, thank you so much for your time today. I really hope that as Ivy progresses, as maybe you graduate high school, we can get you back on the podcast to keep the community updated on all the cool things that you're doing. If you're out there and you're like, this kid sounds awesome, reach out to him. He is going to be a hard kid to hire in the next couple of years because of all of his awesome engineering experience. If you're looking to hire someone, maybe scoop him up quicker or sooner rather than later. So shout out to you, Christian. Thank you so much for coming on. And people should go try to download Ivy Wallet.
Thank you for listening to Hedera Hashgraph's Gossip About Gossip. If you liked the episode, please subscribe, rate and review, and also share and tell your friends.
Or connect with us on social media like Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Hashgraph, particularly if you want to leave us feedback on the podcast. We look forward to hearing from you.